Hey everyone, welcome back to Yellow Jacket Garage. What we got sitting here is a 2009 GMC Yukon. It is the Denali edition, so that it's the 6.2 liter flex fuel vehicle, and it's throwing some codes. And so it's got a check engine light on. It's not flashing, but it's on. And so I went ahead and scanned the codes with my code reader, and it said there's a evap code, there's a bank 2, and a couple of other things, and also knock sensors. In the course of having this vehicle here for the next few days, I'm going to go ahead and do a service on it. So I'm going to do an oil change, air filter, all that stuff. We're going to change all of those. And so I'm probably going to do a series of videos as I do this, but and of course this is number one, is today we're going to try to tackle the knock sensors. They seem to be relatively easy. On this particular engine, the 6.2 flex fuel, the knock sensors are actually on the outside of the block. There's one on the passenger side, one on the driver's side, and so yeah, this being passenger, this being driver, and duh, I guess. Sorry. Anyway, so it has two sensors. They unbolt, unclip, put the new one on, and bolt it back in. I've never done these before, and so what that's going to entail is figuring out how to best access the sensors, and that's the hard part. If you'll notice, the truck is already up in the air, the front tires are off, and the reason I did that is because you can access the sensors from the wheel wells, but the tires are kind of in the way. If you have a long socket, you can loosen them up, and I may be able to do just that. But gaining access to the sensor itself to unclip it, because it does have those little clips on there for the electronics so that it plugs into the computer, those will be the hard part to get to, kind of through and around everything. So I lifted it up. I can climb on the creeper, crawl underneath it, and once I unbolt it and see how easy it is to access it, to unclip it, and then get it back up where it belongs. I suspect this is going to be a pretty quick video, but every time I say that, it really kind of goes south pretty quick. Oftentimes, as any of you that work on your vehicles know, that stuff happens. Air quotes. So anyway, I also wanted to mention that I do have this up on jack stands. They're not the Harbor Freight ones. I put those away. Well, I still have them. They are the Duralast 6,000 pounds a piece or whatever they are. So they're the heavy duty. I bought them so I could use them on my truck. And I did leave the jack underneath it. So if it were to slip off the jack stands, there's that other measure of safety. So anytime you have a vehicle in the air, please make sure that it's properly supported. People die from a vehicle being improperly supported and it falls on them. I personally know people that have had vehicles fall on them. So pay attention, and safety, safety, safety when it comes to that stuff. Make sure you have the vehicle properly supported. Your life is not worth changing a spark plug or changing a tire or something like that because it wasn't done safely. So please, 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 please be safe when you're doing this stuff. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in and see if we can't get to this thing. Okay, I'm going to start on the driver's side because the driver's side appears to be the most difficult to get to. So that's why I'm doing what I'm doing. But I wanted to show you exactly that bolt right there that this stick is touching. That's the clip I was talking about having to unclip. That's the bolt you have to undo to get to it. What I'm going to do is, if you notice how straight this poker is, I'm going to go ahead and put on probably every 3/8 drive extension that I've got, and then some. No, I've got some pretty long extensions. That's what she said. And I'm going to basically undo that. So you might actually be able to see it from this vantage point while I have the socket on, while I'm taking it off, because for once, it looks like I can work around the camera with the camera being there. So let me go ahead and go grab those tools, get those set up, and we'll pull that sensor out and see how easy it really is. It looks like I have enough room once I pull it out that I can drop the sensor down underneath, crawl in the creeper, and swap it out, put it back up there, and bolt it back in. Okay, so it's a 13 millimeter. I put a deep well on, and I'm actually probably about half a mile up the driveway with this extension that I've got on here. Well, that certainly seemed to be way easier than it probably should have been. I don't know how easy this is going to be to see under here, but anyway, here's the bottom side of it, and I already snapped the new one in. Let me see if I can get it actually centered so you can see it. Basically, where I unbolted it, it dropped down between the block, and this is the front differential right here, and so it's hanging down. I popped the old one out, popped the new one in. Now I'm going to try to reach back up there and get it back up to where I can kind of get a hold of it from inside the fender well. The cool thing about this is the bolt and everything already comes pre-captured, so it's all new. And basically you unbolt the old one, unclip the old one, clip the new one in, and bolt the new one back in. So let's see if we can get that back up in there to where I can get to it. If not, we'll figure it out. And the driver's side is probably the more difficult side to get to. So it's a good thing we did this one first, because that way I can kind of game the passenger side a little bit easier. Figure that one out. Okay, I didn't show it on camera because this did turn out to be one of those places where my arms are just, you know, in the way. You can see up here where my elbows were rubbing, and over here it rubbed all the dirt off and things like that. And I say this because what I wound up doing, I reached in there, I held the bolt up, and I got the socket on the bolt, and then used the socket and extension to turn it all the way in to get to it, to make sure that it tightened into the hole the way it's supposed to. Let me just torque this thing down, and I'll be right back. Okay, as you can see with my poker stick back in there, that's a nice shiny new bolt. Oops, I'm bumping the camera with my poker stick. And it's all clipped back together. And so, driver's side is done. Let's go do the other side and call this thing a night, or a day, or a job done well. In here, in this little box, we have the other one, and this is for the passenger side, and the part number is the same for both sides. But I wanted to take a quick sec to show you what they look like new, up close. Let me put it in front of the camera side of it. It comes with, the bolt is captured. There's a little rubber grommet thingy down there. And so anyway, there it is. It just bolts into the block. Of course, the clip goes into here. It goes back together pretty easy. I'm not going to show you the process of the passenger side because it's the same as the driver's side. If you're going to do this for yourself, start on the driver's side because it is the most difficult side. I haven't got the passenger side out. It is unbolted, but it's not all the way out yet. So anyway, I wanted to just show you that before I put the new one in. On stuff like this, always take a peek to see if there's something that has a locating tab or something, so that you can make sure that it's clocked the right direction, if there is a right direction for it. This doesn't have that. It's a mating surface all the way around, so it's basically a plug and play type of a thing. So, all right, if you can see the starter, and you got to be careful with the starter because I'm gonna stick a chunk of metal in there, and I don't want to contact the starter. What's happening though is the sensor is wanting to rotate towards and basically rest against the back of the starter. So what I'm doing is I'm using a long, basically you see here, it's a long pry bar, and just gently kind of holding that sensor in place while I tighten it down. And so this being the passenger side, you know, when I said that it was probably the easier one, well, yeah, I kind of lied to you. It wasn't that it was more difficult, it's that to get the clip off the back of it, you kind of need two hands. So if you've got big hands, find a friend that has small hands to help you with this. But getting that clip to unclip, you needed both hands to do it, and my hands are barely small enough to fit in between the front CV joint, the front axle shaft, and that was my right hand. My left hand is over the top side of the frame rail right here in front of you, and kind of reached around the back side right over here and was in the blind, but I managed to get it unclipped, clip the new one on, put it up there. I was able to reach up there with my hand and with my right hand and finger tighten the whole thing, or was it my left hand? I don't remember. Anyway, one of my hands. I've got two, pick one. that I managed to get it tightened down, finger tight, and then I put the ratchet on there and did that. And when I first tried to tighten it down with the ratchet, the sensor was spinning and it put the clip up against the back side of the starter, and I don't want that because your starter may get hot. And so anyway, I went ahead, grabbed the pry bar, did that little trick to kind of hold it in place while it's snugged down, and then put the little bit more oomph to it to snug it down all the way. You know, when it makes contact, maybe quarter to a half turn, if that much, but don't grab the thing with a pry bar and just try to really get it good and tight, because it's not necessary and you'll break it. And I'm sure breaking a bolt off into the block would be, you know, your normal mechanic would love it, because they're going to charge a whole bunch of money to get that out of there. Anyway, like I said, I wasn't gonna film this side of it unless I felt like something needed to be added. Well, I got the wheels, tires back on, and I haven't torqued them down yet, but they're on. And so I'm gonna go ahead and set this thing on the ground and probably clear the codes and see if the codes come back. But anyway, Graham stopped by. He wanted to say hi, and he wanted to be on YouTube, so here's Graham. He's a good cat. He just showed up and decided he was going to move in and hasn't left. We have copperheads in this area, quite a few, and he tussled with one a few weeks back, and his leg back here was all swole up. It was pretty ugly. He got bit twice, one on the inside of the leg, one on the outside of the leg from it, so he did pretty good. He was pretty sick for a couple of days, and took him to the vet. Of course, they give him some shots and stuff to try to help him out, and took him a few days. Swelling went away, and now he's almost back to normal. He does run a little bit funny, so I think there must have been something messed up with one of those muscles back there, but all in all, he seems to have pulled through pretty well. But so there he is. Say hi, Graham. You'll probably see more of him. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here for this. That part of it's done. Both sensors are in. They're plugged back in. I'm going to go ahead and jump in and clear the codes and see if that makes a difference at all. I already know, well, I know the evap code is still there, or it's going to still be there, because I haven't done the top side to look through all of this stuff. I mean, it could be, you know, any number of things in there, little leaks or something somewhere, and see if we can figure it out. But other than that, the knock sensor job is done, so hopefully that helped you if you're planning on doing that, or if you're getting that code and you're not sure how to do it on something like this, then that might help you. Now, I started thinking that it might have been in the lifter valley there's two knock sensors too, and to do that job is is quite a bit more involved, but we'd still do it if we had to do it. I just wouldn't enjoy it, but maybe I would, who knows. On an LS, I haven't torn the whole top part of one apart, so it'd be something different, be something new. So let me go ahead and get into this, do that part of it, and see if it clears that code. And we'll see you in the next video when we're going to go ahead and do all the evap stuff. We'll try to see if we can't track that down, find out where we think that the leak might be, and try to fix that if we find anything. So again, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching Yellow Jacket Garage. If you like what you've seen so far, please consider subscribing. Smash that like button, and even give me a comment down below. Tell me what you thought, or tell me if you've tried this before, or if you've shied away from doing it because you weren't sure how easy it would be. Whatever. Give me some feedback. So anyway, thanks for being here. Talk to you later, and we'll see you on down the road.